The rain fell in thin sheets over the slick black streets of London, reflecting the orange glow of the streetlights like liquid fire. It was past midnight, the hour when most people had long retreated into their apartments or late-night pubs. Only the city's restless moved at this hour, the drunk, the desperate, and the ones who preferred to stay unseen. Among them, a man walked with deliberate calm. His hoodie was pulled low over his face, and his sneakers made barely a sound against the wet pavement. He moved with the practiced ease of someone who had done this before, though tonight the stakes were far higher. His name was Ethan Clarke, 28, a Londoner born and bred. To the casual observer, he was just another night walker, blending into the urban rhythm. But beneath the hood, his mind was already running through contingencies, calculating probabilities and predicting outcomes. Tonight wasn't about petty theft, or the usual small-time hustles he had survived on. Tonight was the culmination of months of preparation, research, and observation. Ethan grew up in East London, in a council estate where opportunity was scarce and survival required cunning. From an early age, he had learned to read people, predict behavior, and exploit gaps. A school dropout, he quickly realized that intelligence alone could not secure a life in London's underworld. You needed timing, audacity, and nerves of steel. Now, standing across from St. Giles Financial Services, a building famed for housing the wealthiest and often most corrupt figures of the city, Ethan's pulse quickened. His target wasn't just money. It was a statement, a challenge, a test to prove that someone like him could outwit men who thought themselves untouchable. The background. Ethan's life before this heist had been a series of calculated risks. He had been involved in small burglaries, identity fraud, and black market deals. He had contacts in underground gambling dens, pawn shops, and a few tech-savvy hackers who owed him favors. None of this was glamorous, but each job taught him patience, precision, and the power of invisibility. He had been watching Dominic Harrow, a businessman with rumored ties to laundering operations, for months. Harrow was meticulous, paranoid, and ruthless. But he had one weakness: overconfidence. He trusted the technology, meant to protect him more than he trusted the people around him, a blind spot Ethan intended to exploit. For weeks, Ethan had taken notes. Security cameras were mapped, guard rotations were logged, even the guards' coffee breaks were noted down to the second. No detail was too small. London was full of eyes, but Ethan had learned how to move in the gaps between them. He paused under a street lamp and pulled out a small notebook. Written in tight, precise handwriting were the timings, entrances, and contingencies. Every eventuality was accounted for, or so he hoped, foreshadowing tension. The rain intensified, and the neon signs of nearby bars reflected violently across the puddles. Somewhere, a siren wailed in the distance, a routine part of London's night soundtrack. But tonight it felt like a warning. Ethan looked up at the building once more. "This is it," he whispered to himself. Not out of fear, but focus. The next few hours would decide everything. One misstep could mean prison or worse, yet the thrill was undeniable. He slipped the notebook into his pocket and melted into the shadows. A ghost among the living. The city didn't notice him. It wouldn't, until everything changed. Ethan's planning wasn't just about knowing where to go. It was about predicting human behavior, manipulating probability, and creating illusions. He spent days constructing an elaborate plan, using both modern tech and old-school sleight of hand. The first step involved reconnaissance. He spent hours in cafes across London, using coffee cups as cover while scanning the building. He noted delivery schedules, guard conversations, and the subtle patterns of employees' routines. One man always arrived late. Another always lingered too long in the stairwell, a detail most people would overlook. These small cracks would become his doorway. Next came technical preparation. Ethan had a hacker acquaintance, Samir, a young genius from East London with a knack for disabling CCTV without leaving a trace. Samir provided him with a device small, enough to slip in his pocket that could temporarily blind. Cameras for 15 minutes, a window large enough for Ethan to move unnoticed. Then there were the contingencies. London streets were unpredictable. Rain could flood routes, random patrols could appear, and rival criminals, who had also heard rumors about Harrow's holdings, might attempt interference. Ethan had to anticipate all of it. He also knew the psychology of the guards. People relied on routine. Humans rarely deviate from comfort. By creating subtle distractions, false noises, staged disturbances, he could predict how the guards would react. Every distraction was a move in a chess game only he could see. The plan was intricate. Enter the building using a rarely used side door. Avoid main cameras with Samir's device. Time the elevator ride to intercept Harrow's night deposit. Extract valuables quietly and escape through the service tunnel that connected to the alley behind the building. Leave no trace, no fingerprints, no digital trail. Ethan repeated the steps in his mind like a mantra. One mistake and it's over, he reminded himself. But excitement buzzed beneath the nerves, building suspense. In the days before the heist, Ethan tested his plan in smaller ways. He staged minor break-ins in abandoned warehouses to ensure his timing and agility were precise. He rehearsed the route multiple times, memorizing every crack in the pavement, every fire escape, and every blind corner. He also kept an eye on the city's underworld grapevine. Rumors about rival thieves trying to score big came through his contacts. This meant he had to move quickly, or someone else could jeopardize the plan. And then came the most dangerous part, trusting an accomplice. Ethan had to rely on Samir to disable the cameras at exactly the right moment. Samir was brilliant but human. He could panic. He could make mistakes. But Ethan knew that his life and the success of the heist depended on this partnership. The night of the heist was approaching. Rain, fog, and the hum of London's nightlife would be both cover and challenge. Ethan went over the plan one last time, whispering it into the dark. Move like a shadow. Think like a ghost. One window, one chance, one night. Outside, the city carried on unaware. Inside, a man was preparing to step into a world of crime, consequences and risk that would change everything.